Welcome to the How to Heal podcast. I'm Lindsay, the show host, producer, CEO, CFO, etc., etc. So, yeah, just a little side note. My show got banned on Spotify because of the music that I purchased as my jingle jangle. And now there's no jingle, or there's got to be a reinvented one, or I'm going to figure out how to incorporate something fun into the podcasts. But on the music front, if you don't currently follow me on Instagram, go to How to Heal on Instagram, and you will find an amazing playlist that I've curated over the last 9 months. I've been recording and posting. So on Instagram, you'll see clips of the podcast with just great music that I love music. So go check it out. Go follow the Spotify playlist, and I'm sure you will enjoy the tunes. So today we're talking integrate to integration. And, my 8-week coaching program, which is what I sort of came out of the gate with after getting laid off, trying to figure out how I was going to make sense of my life, getting laid off of corporate, but not even wanting to be there in the first place. And then just really being defined my whole life by money and making money and my ability to earn and my ability to spend. And I think that when I got laid off, I had been studying all of this stuff for, 15 years. And in my mind, I'm sitting in this small room, which I think is going to be just like a meeting with my direct supervisor, and it actually, the VP comes on the whatever and lays me off. And it was so surreal because I'd never gotten laid off, and I I poured my heart and soul into this company. I really, really built an unstoppable team on all fronts. And yeah, in my body, it was like, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. But sort of like this knowing came over me, and it was like, you graduated. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for this yet. And coming off of that was devastating. I remember coming home and literally laying on the couch. My husband was such a gem during this process. He really was great. And he said, take it easy. You'll take some time off to figure things out, and it took a long time to get back into real life and knowing who I was, what I was, and I'm still figuring out, but like really calming my nervous system down. Because as I was in corporate, I really was jamming a square peg into a round hole. And I was balancing this line of, this is who I am. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I bring to the table. And really trying to add value as a human in corporate. And then just being like, I don't care about the prerogative of this structure. I don't care about it. I don't care for it. I know they don't care about me. So, as I see all of these mass layoffs happening, especially with my previous company, Starbucks, I hope that this episode can help you find your footing if you are navigating a layoff, or if you feel extremely unsteady in your corporate job. So There's a reason I told you this story. It's not just because I went off on a tangent. Again, we're talking about integrate to integration. Now, integrate, as I mentioned, was the 8-week program that I rolled out right after I got laid off. And it was all the things that I knew: how to take care of myself, how to get to the next level, how to get a promotion, how to get more freedom, how to set the boundaries, how to take care of myself, how to lose all the things, how to manage the money, how to make more money, all the things. And now I have really worked on the integration piece. So this episode is really going to speak to the heart of my journey and what I've been through for the last 2.5 years. Also, for my mamas out there, I had a baby in this process, which layers just a whole other level of awareness and intuition and responsibility and identity. But I'm really going to try to keep it holistic for everybody who's listening, so it's valuable for everybody. So when you think about integrate to integration, you can literally just think about it as an internal process versus an external process. You're taking the word integrate and you're taking everything that you want in your life in a structure format, the core energetics portion of the episode, and you are taking that and you are integrating it into all areas of your life. Whether it's self-care, whether it's financial, whether it's relationships, career, creativity, all the things. There's so many ways to categorize the things in our life that need to be tended to, and we can do it in all different ways. So it doesn't just have to be financial, career, family, friends, health. It can be other interesting things like style or creativity or writing or like a creative project that you're working on. You can have that as just sort of like a pillar for a period of time. Investments, instead of financial, maybe break it down into investments, just a smaller niche of this general category. And sometimes when you hit those smaller niches, you really get into an expansive, free flow way of getting a lot of traction in that area. So when we think again about integrate to integration, you're really going from the internal process to incorporating it into an external process, into a front-facing progress. You're really polishing the internal processes to shine to the external world so you can really show up in ways that are beneficial not only to you but to others and to the energy around you that creates your reality. I had this really funny thought in a soul cycle class the other day, and it was like, family is to friends as religion is to spirituality. And when we talk about that structure that we have with integrate and how we integrate, if we go to previous episodes, I have a bunch of integrate episodes about integrating mental and physical, integrating mental and emotional, integrating physical and spiritual, like all the things. But religion is to spirituality as family is to friends, as religion is to spirituality. And I thought about this because when we think about structure, we are born into our families. We cannot change that. And I just gone to a bar mitzvah this weekend. And I love going to the bar mitzvahs because I love seeing the family like in their element. I love seeing the family just celebrating their traditions and cultures and being with extended family and really close friends and just like how they shine together. I love it. It makes me feel so, it really makes me feel so dedicated to my family. And it made me think about like, how can I show up better as a mother? How can I really show up better as a mother? And also like as a partner and as a wife and as a doggy mommy and in all the ways. But that structure, that is a structure. It is a structure we are born into. So, when we think about friends, we choose our friends and we choose the way we participate spiritually in our religion. So we basically get to choose our friends. We choose our forms of spirituality. We choose how we commune with God or the universe or whoever it is you're communing with on a spiritual level, on what you define as the higher power. And it's very similar to, again, this integrate versus integration concept. We have an internal process that we create structure around. And I talked about this on last episode with Pierce, that the core energetics portion requires structure. Spirituality requires structure. Physical health, mental, emotional health requires structure. When you're all over the place, wishy-washy, you're not keeping tabs. You're eating too much sugar. You're eating the hydrogenized oils, your super processed oils, you're checking Instagram too much, you're getting sloppy. So you always have to sort of reel it back into, okay, what is the structure around how I want to remain in integrity? And then when we go into the integration piece, we've branched out. So when we are in a creative pursuit, there's always a threshold. So whether it's learning an instrument, whether it's being an artist and you draw or you paint, whether it's singing, whether it's writing, there's a threshold. I'm calling it the threshold of creativity. It is the point in which you come up against difficulty in your next level of creativity and expression. And it gets hard. And you're like, I don't want to learn these notes anymore. I don't want to go to this level anymore. I don't want to continue to write like this anymore. And it's hard. And I need like a breath of fresh air. And I need to integrate. And I need to go from the integrate to the integration. I am crossing the threshold of creativity where my voice becomes my own, where I'm taking the rules and the structures of what I've known, what I've learned, what I know works, what I know the foundation is, and making it into something that is fully expressive of who I am in a way that I feel it. And I express it to the world in my way. And that is something outside of the confines of what we are taught. So we are taught all of these helpful structures and rules and principles, and then we have to integrate them in order to fully be an integration in the world. It's an independence and an ownership of your personal expression of energy. And it's limitless. So when can you think of when and how you've broken that threshold? It's coming to me because my aunt listens to the podcast all this time and she's such a big supporter. So hi, Aunt Terry Ann. Like, was it when you were baking or when you were cooking and you were constantly following recipes and then you were like, oh, you know what? I can actually create this whole new recipe on my own. And I don't trust this recipe 100%. So I'm just going to put in like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm taking out some of this and it comes out amazing. And then you start to think independently. Oh, I have this and this and this in the fridge. This is how I'm going to prepare it. It's that threshold of creativity where you stop following directions and you start following your heart. In that process, dormancy and stagnation are prevalent. When you're so used to following the rules, it can be really hard to unlearn how to follow the rules. So know that when you feel stagnant or when you feel dormant is really when you're coming to that threshold of creativity and you're about to go from integrate to integration. How are you stepping into integration in your life? How are you stepping into your own flow and creativity? How are you creating something that is ultimately yours and an expression of yourself that is fully embodied, where you can come back to yourself and say, no, this checks out because it feels right inside of me. So just to take a full circle, if you are in a place where you feel very unstable or unsafe or unheard or all the things that corporate leaves you feeling, you have the keys to create an amazing life for yourself. You can start now. You can churn the wheel. You can churn the cauldron of your creative desires and deepest desires that only you know. Give yourself permission, even just an inch, and see the magic unfold. I love you. I'll see you next week.